Hello and welcome to a special edition Saturday morning with Scotland Rugby News. I'm your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happiness Egg Shaped, and he's the editor for Scotland Rugby News, Gavin Harper. Quick word from our new sponsor. The Scotland Rugby News is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Scotland, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search now. So, Gavin, weekends like this, the Welsh weekend's a special one. There are Welsh clubs visiting from up and down the valleys and even in the cities. They were in Hoyk. I was in Gala yesterday with the Treorchy Zebras. I know that Grangemouth had a game yesterday. It's a bit special, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like my club Haddington have got a connection with an Irish club, but so many of these Scottish Welsh things have gone on for years and years and years, and it's brilliant that they all kind of still continue on, and they must have been passed down through like generations and generations of these at both clubs. So look, it's good, it's great, and you get so many Welsh people. I'll be in Edinburgh today. I was very briefly in Edinburgh last night, and you can see that the whole place is buzzing, and it feels like Bill McLaren used to talk in his commentary about the sort of air of anticipation before Five Nations games, and you always feel that, I think, when Wales are here and when Scotland are in Cardiff. So looking forward to it, and the game itself should be a cracker.
Yeah, I hope so. There's a guy from Treorchy that I was speaking to yesterday. He's been coming to Gala for 50 years. He's got great friendships in it, and it's such a special thing. The Welsh, it's played in villages, it's played in towns, it's played in cities. It's not just in one area of the country. So yeah, pretty cool, and a great start for Scotland. We always used to look at the Friday night or the night before game of the 20s or 21s as it was in the olden days, and the A team. Oh, that's good. We'll get a full house, and it's been a tough shift, but 21's got a result last night, 27-12. It's brilliant, because I don't think many of us picked that after Wales beating Ireland.
Yeah, I think the fact that Wales were coming into that game off 2 wins, I'm not sure how much kind of hope we gave Scotland, but I was just saying to you before we came on, like, Scotland's back row were brilliant. Isaac Coates made a big impact off the bench. Fergus Watson played well, but they actually, as a team, collectively hung in there. They were struggling early on, the sort of slow start, and where they've crumbled in games against Italy and Ireland, they actually hung in there. And then there was a really big moment. Obviously, 2 red cards totally helps, but there was a big moment just before half time when Wales were camped on their line. I think if they'd scored, it would have been 14-12 or something at half time. It would have been really close at half time. But they held them out, won a scrum penalty and kicked the ball out. So, that felt a big moment. And then you kind of thought, as the game wore on, because one of the red cards was an old-fashioned red card, not the 20-minute one, that man advantage would kind of pay off. And so it did. But, like, Freddie scored right at the end to get a bonus point, which I think they needed. And that next week for them is going to be really, really tough playing France, but they at least now go into that game with a wee bit of confidence and a bit of spring in their step.
I remember Jim Telfer saying once, getting picked's the easy part, but winning for Scotland, that's the tough bit.
Yeah.
And I was with Hamish Watson and Johnny Matthews last night, and we were talking about the 20s, and we were sort of talking about the measurement of success, and actually it's the number of graduates that are important, and the two of them were sort of going through the number of boys that they played with that made it through the pro ranks or international. And time will only tell, but I still think if you can experience winning at that age, it can only be a good thing moving forward. Right, pal, let's get to today. So teams. Here we go.
There's one quick comment about the 20s. They played some lovely rugby. I think that's fair. But they did well defensively, and again, yeah, it is a big win for their self-belief. Anyway,
and
yes,
it can only be a good thing. And I remember playing for Gala on a Friday night against Peebles at the Gites when Scotland squads would stay at the Hydro, and them coming down and standing on the touchline on a freezing cold night in Peebles to watch. I don't think they would have been there last night, but that's another one of those, we're talking about Welsh clubs coming up and traditions. Mm-hmm. It would be an amazing thing if some of those boys were able to mosey along and have a watch of 20s, because some of them are now club mates. They're training with them. Hamish and Johnny were saying last night, the olden days of, there was the old boys WhatsApp group and the academy boys WhatsApp group. Now there's just a WhatsApp group and everybody's in it, and the academy boys are seen much more as part of the club. So yeah, brilliant. Today, team selection, probably no surprises. The only thing was the 5-3 split. So George Horn comes in for Dobie, but other than that, Darcy back in. As you said the other night, he's got enough in the bank that he can come straight back in, but nothing earth-shattering there for Scotland, really, is there?
There's not, and I think there's a part of me a wee bit frustrated that, in one hand, I'm glad because Gregor's sort of made a bit of a name for making 5 or 6 changes, and I don't think that's the right thing to do, but I do think there was an opportunity here to say, look, we've got 2 guys in the second row particularly who are beyond 30. Gilchrist's 34, Johnny Gray's just 30, but Johnny's played a lot of rugby recently. Like, let's have a look at somebody else, even if it's on the bench, or get Gregor Brown a start. But I can, with a kind of pragmatic head on, I can see Will Rowlands and Daffy Jenkins are good players for Wales. So having that experience is probably... And then in the past, as I say, we've moaned when Gregor's made loads and loads of changes. So giving that pack another go, and then I think also giving them a go to kind of say there was bits of the England game they did well, but they struggled in the scrum at times. So maybe it's a chance for them to go again.
When I was chatting with Hamish and Johnny last night, I had a great time with the two of them. But we were talking about, like, Scotland have to win. Gregor has to need to win. But I think the performance also needs to be there against Wales. It can't be a 16-15 win. It has to be a clear and decisive performance that creates the right result. And it has to be a bonus point win, I think, doesn't it? And with a backline like that, there are definitely tries there.
Yeah, there are tries, and they showed that against England, that they create opportunities. The difference today has to be that they have to finish those, and they have to, when they get into Wales's 22, they have to come away with points. And I know we asked Gregor earlier in the week about would Scotland change the style and potentially look at kicking for goal more, or taking drop goals, and he said no. Look, the easiest way to apply scoreboard pressure is by scoring tries. So, and this team's got tries in them. But as you say, I think the other thing that we have to see from Scotland today that we haven't seen for a long time is that where they don't have a massive drop-off in the middle of a game and they don't score any points for 15, 20, 25 minutes, because it just, like against Italy, that could have been a 20-point margin, but Scotland allowed Italy back into the game through a drop in their own performance and not applying scoreboard pressure. If you've got a drop, you still need to try and find a way to keep the scoreboard moving.
I'm interested to see. I don't think it'll happen, but I do wonder if we'll kick more against Wales. But I think what we have done is we've not really been able to kick off front foot when we've kicked, because it's not in the plan, not necessarily in the plan, because that makes it sound really naive, but it's to play. So then when it does kick, it's often box kick off slow ball, opposition or set. I wonder if we might see a bit more kicking off front foot to apply pressure and say to Wales, right, we know you're going to play, come and play, but we're going to back ourselves in defence.
Yeah, I think there might be a bit of that. I think Scotland have to be wary of kicking loosely to that Welsh back three. They obviously showed what they can do against Ireland. But I think Ben White's kicking game is right up there. I'm fascinated by his kind of head-to-head with Thomas Williams. I think we could all probably say now that Jamison Gibson-Park will, barring any disastrous injuries, will start for the Lions. But I think the other scrum half spots are pretty open. I think Thomas Williams could be one of the small Wales contingent, but I also think Ben White's got plenty kind of credit there as well. So I think that's an interesting one. I think as for the kicking, there's part of me thinks you're right, but there's also a part that says, does Scotland keep the ball in hand? Because that was when they caused real bother to England in that first 20-25 minutes.
No, and I think you're right, and I think that is still the plan. I just wonder, territory, apply pressure to Wales, create turnover, make Wales overplay. I just wonder if there's a little bit there, because when we go to play France next week, it's going to be really difficult to keep the ball in hand for long periods of time, because that French type five defend very, very well. They've got a back row that's just seemed like there's 4 or 5 of them, and then Dupont organising. I just think we might need to be able to kick off front foot and apply pressure and make France do something French. I just wonder if there's a chance to do that against Wales in what I hope is a less pressured situation. I think the crowd's going to be on one today, and I take your point about that lull. That will be really disappointing if we allow there to be a lull with a full crowd, Doddy Weir Cup. Jamie's been talking on Scottish Rugby channels about that and about memories, and Murrayfield's coming to. There's a whole load of things wrapped up in today's game. Yeah. It would be really sad to have a 15-20 minute lull and they're a bit of a fizzle towards the end if the result is gone either way. So I'm hoping the intensity is really high, 80-minute performance.
Yeah, and I think that's what this needs after the way the sort of first 3 games have gone. Look, I think our columnist Rory Lawson, was speaking to him yesterday, and he thinks Scotland will be too good by about 10 to 12 points. I am probably erring towards that, but I think that if Scotland come unstuck with a patch like that, it could be, it could end up being a repeat of last year where it's all down to the wire and it's very, very, very close. I think what Scotland need today is a really convincing performance, a professional performance, which is what Finn talked about, and a comfortable Six Nations win.
I think that the cards are there. I wonder about the Welsh, and we spoke about jockey and plans and preparations, picking the back row they've picked. Like Faletau needs to have a game, needs to lead, needs to carry. We'll probably bring more than one tackler to him to try and create space for others. The 2 others are going to be a menace at the breakdown. Like, how do you stop the Scottish backs at source? Like, that's, you've got to make a mess of it. But I do wonder, and I was saying this the other night to you, do they leave the ball and fill the field and take away space, or do they go hell for leather into the breakdown, try and make it as messy as possible, create turnovers so they can just play it? I'm really interested to see this Welsh team, because it's not Warren Gatland. I don't think we can sit here, the pundits will be in the studio before the game, that all the experts are talking. None of us know what Wales are going to do today, I think, is the realistic outlook. We can guess, but we've no clue.
Yeah, and I think that we've probably got more of a clue than we did 2 weeks ago, because we've seen a bit of what Matt Sherritt's Wales team looks like now. But he's had 2 weeks. They've had an opportunity to say, right, well, here's what works, here's what doesn't. We'll change a few things. So I think you're right that, like, from an analysis point of view, I'm not convinced you've got loads and loads to go on in terms of this game plan. I think they're coming with nothing to lose. Like, nobody. I wonder how many of the Wales fans that were in Gala or Grangemouth or any of the clubs over this weekend are going to Murrayfield today or are going to those clubs and saying, I know Wales can win? Because
no, the terminology I heard last night was it's a free hit. Yesterday, somebody said, this is our cup final. We need to win this. Like, this is a one-off game. We've got nothing to lose. Somebody, one of the Treorchy guys said to me, it'll be interesting to see if Wales pull a rabbit out the hat. You know, so it is that kind of shot to nothing. I don't think anybody's going with 100% confidence. It's heart over head for a lot of them, but sometimes that's been all right.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That prospect could be quite dangerous. And if they've obviously brought Gareth Hanscom back, Max Llewellyn's in the midfield, so they've got a bit of continuity in terms of the Gloucester 9-10-13. Ben Thomas has gone all right. I think, playing at 10 was maybe a step too far at this stage. But like,
I really wish this game wasn't coming against Scotland. Because I would actually quite like to see Anscombe go out and put in a massive performance. I'd like to see him dictate what's going on, kick goals, play the corner. I'd love to see it, but I really don't want to do that against Scotland.
No, you're absolutely right. But I think the other that is, and I know he told us yesterday that he's not bothered by any of the criticism and all that stuff, but I think Finn will want to play. Finn wants a big game. He's maybe not had the Six Nations he wants. Finn will need a big performance, but not one of those where he's. I mean, if he's chucking all those passes and crossfield kicks, great. But I think one where he just moves Scotland round the pitch, keeps us on the front foot, and keeps things ticking over. I think that's bigger than. We know he can do all that,
I would like to see him almost go through the game without being tackled. Like, I would like to see him go through the game where he uses Tom Jordan, and we play a little bit off Tom Jordan, that Duan and Darcy come looking for work, that the forwards can't, that if Finn makes a break, he's away and he's putting somebody away, or he's scoring himself, he's kicking on the front foot where Wales can't get to it. I would love to see Finn go through the game, clean shots, no contact. Let's see, Finn, if you can just absolutely conduct the orchestra. And I think you're right. A big game for Finn. There's so many question marks over what's going to happen in the summer. If Finn picks up a Player of the Match award, then he's putting himself in a shot window. Cammy, if you're coming to Edinburgh today, you better be bringing a bag of sausage rolls for me, or this relationship's over. I'm never coming back to Moffat again. So Little's Bakery, I'm wanting a bag of sausage rolls.
That's not the first time you've plugged Little's Bakery on this podcast.
I know. I tell you what, Leslie Donovan, say hello to your brother Jason for me, because he's not been in Edinburgh for a while.
That is a very niche thing now. I don't know how many people will get that reference.
Do my best mate who now works for the All Blacks, Adam Hay, his claim to fame is that he thumbed Jason Donovan in the eye. Jason Donovan was performing, I think, at the Usher Hall or somewhere, and my mate got a bit excited and went down the front, was jumping up and doing as Jason was going along the front, tapping like folks' hands, and my mate jumped up and thumbed him in the eye.
Excellent. Very good.
Sorry, that's an aside. Yeah, that comment for Leslie is bang on. Like, you're right. We are the better team, and we should be better at saying we are the better team. We're going to go out and win by 15, 20 points. We've just had too many knocks in this recent history of not being able to be that confident. And I've taken a lot of confidence from people who know a lot more than me this week, who are saying, nah, Scotland are going to win by 15, 20 points. Yesterday, this is my Friday. I had lunch with John Rutherford, Peter Dodds and Jim Telfer, who all reckoned that Scotland were going to win. And then I had my tea with Hamish Watson and Johnny Matthews, who also said Scotland were going to win convincingly. They all have far more knowledge than I do, so I'm taking that. So I'm going Scotland by 18 points. We're going to be in the 30s, bonus point. Wales will pick up a couple of tries and a couple of kicks, but we're going to win by 15, 20 points. That's my prediction, big chap.
Yeah, I like it. I think you're right that we should be more confident. I think, though, when Scottish people or say, like us, we are the better team, we should win by 15 points. All of a sudden, ex-Wales internationals say Scotland are arrogant and think that they're world beaters. So I genuinely, having been to all the media access this Six Nations and long before, I don't get that. Like, I've never heard a Scottish player say, we're going to win the Six Nations. We might say it, and I think even then we hope this is the year Scotland can kick on. I don't think there is a genuine expectation from anybody that come, Super Saturday, we're all sitting with the trophies waiting there for Finn to go and pick up. I hate that, and I think it's total nonsense.
Do you know what really worries me about this Six Nations? England might win it.
England might win it. I mean, and actually that game in Dublin today is massive. Because,
huge!
Huge.
I think it's going to be brutal. There's going to be like that picture of Bundy Aki at the end of the game 2 weeks ago. Was it? Like, I think there's going to be 3 or 4 bodies like that at the end of this game. I think France against Ireland is going to be like one of those games. South Africa, not an arm wrestle, because that makes it sound like there's not going to be any rugby played, but I think it's going to be absolutely brutal.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the discussion about a 7-1 French bench is maybe one we can save for next week, when Scotland have the prospect of facing that in Paris on the last day of the Six Nations, with France possibly playing for the championship.
That just
your face says it all.
It just sounds so...
Yeah, look, I think if we're going for predictions, you've gone by Scotland by 18, did you say?
Yeah.
I'll be slightly more what's the word, pragmatic, and say Scotland by 10.
I think it's going to be 40 points to 12. Is that too many?
40 points to
12. 30 points to 12. No, I reckon it'll be more than that. 30, I need to stick with my 18 now, though, don't I? I'm going to go with 33-15. No, that's not enough. Oh, my head's too sore. Big fella, enjoy your day at Murrayfield. I'm off to Cold Town House with Johnny Matthews. You have a great...
Yeah, the same to you. Enjoy it.
And let's... You there?
I am here, but I don't know what's happened to you.
Right. Well, so many things, but that's for another day. Let's meet this week and talk about a Scotland win. Happy?
Yes, let's. Fingers crossed.
Right, let's do that. Okay, folks, great to see you. Enjoy your Saturday, wherever you're doing it, and there's rugby on Sunday too. So what a weekend! Another quick word from our sponsor. The Scotland Rugby News podcast is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Scotland, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search now. Have a great Saturday. Look after yourselves. Be good, and come on, Scotland. Speak to you all this week.